So the 2026 NBA Draft Lottery is officially over, and we now know the complete order of this year's NBA Draft. And this gives us a better idea of where some of the prospects in this loaded draft class are going to land, which means that it's time for our updated mock draft. So let's jump into it. Starting with the number 1 pick in the draft, the Washington Wizards select Dybantsa from BYU, and this is the dream outcome for Washington because after years of being stuck in rebuild mode, they finally land a true franchise-level wing. Dybantsa is 6'9". He led the entire country in scoring as a freshman at 25.5 points per game for the Cougars. And what makes him special is the shot creation because he can get downhill, play through contact, live in the mid-range, draw fouls, and create offense like a future superstar in the league. And the jumper still has to become a bit more consistent, and defensively he needs to fully use those physical tools that he has. But with Trae Young and Anthony Davis already there in Washington, he does not have to be the star immediately, but he does give the Wizards a face of the franchise moving forward. With the second pick, the Utah Jazz select Darryn Peterson from Kansas, and this would be a fascinating outcome because Utah probably would have loved to keep Dybantsa close to home, but Peterson is still an elite prize at number 2. He is a smooth, powerful scoring guard with great positional size, a 6'11" wingspan, and the ability to create offense both on or off the ball. And at Kansas, he showed he could play within the structure, shoot off movement, defend multiple spots, and scale his game depending on what the team needed at times. But the concern really isn't the talent, it's the body because he missed time with cramping issues, and the teams are going to dig deep into his medicals. But if all of those concerns check out, Peterson next to Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr., Ace Bailey, and Keontae George gives Utah one of the scariest young cores in the league. With the third pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Cameron Boozer from Duke, and for a franchise that just went through a brutal year like Memphis did, this is the type of pick that can reset everything. Boozer is 6'9", around 250 pounds, and he might be the most polished player in the entire class, even as a freshman. He can score on the block, punish mismatches, he make plays as a passer, and he hit 40% of his threes on real volume this past season, and that combination of strength, skill, and feel is why he won the National Player of the Year and carried Duke deep into the season. But the question is whether the lack of elite vertical pop limits his ceiling against NBA level length. But defensively, he isn't necessarily a perfect positional fit, but next to Zach Edey with young wings around him as well, Boozer would give Memphis a tone-setting frontcourt piece that they can lean on heading forward. And next with the fourth pick, the Chicago Bulls select Caleb Wilson from North Carolina, and this is where Chicago finally gets a jolt of athletic upside here in the top 4 of the draft. The Bulls stripped down their veteran core, leaned into the youth movement, and now they add maybe the best athlete in the entire draft. Wilson is a 6'10" explosive physical forward, and when he is flying above the rim or rotating over to erase shots, he looks like a future star in the NBA. The jumper is the big swing skill for Wilson because he has never been a consistent shooter, so if that part of his game does come around, his ceiling changes completely. But even without the jumper, the motor, size, explosiveness, and defensive tools are all real, and pairing him with Matas Buzelis and Josh Giddey gives Chicago a much clearer long-term direction. With the fifth pick, the Los Angeles Clippers select Keaton Wagler from Illinois, and this is a massive break for a franchise that does not fully control its own picks for years. Wagler became one of the biggest risers in college basketball, going from an intriguing freshman to the engine of a Final Four team there for Illinois. And at 6'6", he can play on or off the ball, make high IQ reads, score with craft, and run offense without needing elite burst. And the signature moment has to be when he had a 46-point game at Purdue, which put the entire country on notice about Wagler. But his biggest concern is his athleticism, because he did not have a single dunk as a freshman, so teams will question how much separation he creates in the NBA. But next to Darius Garland, he would not have to be the league creator right away in Los Angeles. And with the sixth pick, the Brooklyn Nets select Darius Acuff from Arkansas, and even though Brooklyn fell in the lottery once again, this is still a strong outcome because Acuff gives them something they badly need, which is a polished league guard. Acuff might be the most advanced freshman point guard in the entire class because his footwork is clean, his balance is excellent, and he plays with a pace that lets him get to his spots when needed. He can shoot, pass, and organize an offense right away, but the questions are on the the other end because we don't know if he can defend enough to stay on the floor in high-level NBA games, and those are all fair concerns alongside his size, but Brooklyn does not have a guard on the roster with this level of offensive command, and I believe Darius Acuff can be a star in the NBA. Next, with the 7th pick, the Sacramento Kings select Kingston Flemings from Houston, and this pick makes a ton of sense because Sacramento needs a younger identity, and Flemings gives them real lead guard upside. He is explosive, powerful, and puts non-stop pressure on the defense with his first step. At Houston, he averaged 16 points, 5 assists, while shooting 47.5% from the field and nearly 39% from 3. And the decision-making is real, the burst is real, and defensively, he kept improving as the year went on. The biggest concern is whether the rim pressure fully translates from the college level to the NBA, and in Big 12 play, the efficiency dipped, but in an NBA spacing environment, his speed could play up, and for Sacramento, he feels like a natural De'Aaron Fox replacement and could be their point guard of the future. And with the 8th pick, the Atlanta Hawks select Mikel Brown Jr. from Louisville, and this is a swing that fits the direction of this roster. Atlanta moved on from Trae Young, and now they need a lead guard who can create advantages, and Brown can do just that. He is 6'5", can shoot off the dribble, can make creative passing reads, and when he is healthy, he has some of the highest offensive upside in this guard class. The problem is that his season was slowed by a nagging back injury, so the pre-draft process becomes huge for Brown because teams need to see that he is healthy. They also need to decide whether the shot selection and defensive issues are fixable, which I think they are. But next to Dyson Daniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and Jalen Johnson, Brown's shooting and playmaking would give Atlanta a very intriguing young offensive engine. With the 9th pick, the Dallas Mavericks select Brayden Burries from Arizona, and this is a really important pick because Dallas is building around Cooper Flagg, and they do not control their own first rounder again until 2031. And now Burries is not the flashiest player in this range, but he might be one of the easiest fits. He was the leading scorer on one of the best teams in the country at Arizona, and after a slow start to his freshman season, he ended up averaging 17.5 points while shooting 51% from the field and 41% from 3, and he rebounds, he defends, and he moves that ball, and he does not take a lot of bad shots. Now the question is whether he can consistently separate himself from others in the NBA, but next to Flagg and Kyrie Irving, he doesn't have to do too much, and he'll be able to grow into that lead guard position for the Mavericks. And with the 10th pick, the Milwaukee Bucks select Labaron Philon from Alabama. And this is one of my favorite fits on the lottery because Philon gives Milwaukee both short-term help and long-term upside. He is a shifty, score-first guard with elite deceleration, a nasty handle, and the ability to score from multiple levels on the floor. He can snake ball screens, get to floaters, create space with his footwork, and make defenders uncomfortable because he never plays at just one speed. The shooting has started to come around as well, and defensively, he has enough size and toughness to compete. So if he were to play next to Giannis Antetokounmpo, Philon could run the offense, play off the ball, attack closeouts, or become a secondary creator. And if Milwaukee's future ever changes around Giannis like it could this offseason, Philon still gives them the guard that they can actually build around. And next, with the 11th pick, the Golden State Warriors select Aday Mara from Michigan, and no player may have helped himself more during March Madness than Mara. Mara is 7'3" with a reported 7'7" wingspan, and he gives you two things NBA teams badly want from a center, and that's rim protection and passing feel. Defensively, he can shut down the paint and drop coverage, and opponents were much worse at the rim when he was on the floor. Offensively, he is not just a lob threat. He can catch at the elbows, read cutters, throw handoffs, and keep the ball moving. But the concerns are obvious. He does not move great laterally. The perimeter shooting is definitely not there, and the hands can be shaky at times. But after seeing big college centers translate recently, Mara has a real NBA pathway. With the 12th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Yaxel Lendeborg from Michigan, and the rest of the league should probably be thankful OKC did not move into the top 4, because even here, they can add another useful piece to their already loaded roster. Lendeborg is 6'9" with a 7'4" wingspan, and he has the kind of jumbo versatility Oklahoma City loves. He can handle, pass, rebound, defend multiple spots, and make winning plays without needing the offense built around him. The age is the obvious concern because he will be 24 as a rookie, so some teams will question the upside, but he kept improving every time the level of competition increased, from JUCO to his time at UAB and then winning a national championship with Michigan. And for OKC, he could be a plug-and-play rotation piece with real playoff utility. And next, with the 13th pick, the Miami Heat select Swain from Texas. And I know this might be early, but this just feels like the exact type of bet Miami would make. Swain is one of the most physically gifted wings in the entire class, and at Texas, he became the most efficient isolation scorer in the country. He is relentless attacking the rim, creative as a finisher, strong through contact, and active enough defensively to project as a switchable wing at the next level. But the problem is definitely his jumper, because it is not just inconsistent, it is a real concern. The mechanics are not there, the percentages are bad, and defenses are going to dare him to shoot until he proves otherwise. But if there is one organization that can bet on tools, player development, and toughness, that has to be the Miami Heat. And if the shot comes around, Swain could be the steal of this draft. With the 14th pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Ament from Tennessee, and this would be one of the more polarizing lottery swings in the draft. Ament was viewed as a top 5 type of prospect coming into the year, but his freshman season was uneven to say the least. He is 6'10", he can handle, he can shoot off the dribble, and that combination keeps him in lottery conversations, but he struggled to finish at the rim, shot only 33% from 3, and did not always handle physicality well. But the positive is that he had flashes where the upside looked real, including a 6-game stretch where he averaged nearly 24 points per game. But the negatives is that injuries and inconsistency slowed his momentum. But for Charlotte, this is a long-term bet on size, skill, and the possibility that the best version is still coming, and he's another player that could be a steal in this draft. And with the 15th pick, the Chicago Bulls select Hannes Steinbach from Washington. And after taking Caleb Wilson earlier in this mock, this would give Chicago a physical, skilled, young frontcourt to develop. Steinbach played professionally in Germany before coming to Washington, and you could see that experience in his game. He has elite hands, he rebounds at a high level, and he knows how to score around the basket without needing a million touches. He also showed flashes of three-point touch, and if that becomes more consistent, the projection definitely changes for Steinbach. But the concern has to be his positional fit, because he is not a true 7-footer, and there are matchups where he can be targeted in space. But with the NBA trending back towards size, Steinbach has a chance to play both frontcourt spots depending on the lineup, and could be a centerpiece of Chicago's frontcourt moving forward. With the 16th pick, the Memphis Grizzlies select Christian Anderson from Texas Tech, and after taking Cameron Boozer at number 3 in this mock, this would be Memphis adding backcourt skill to balance out the roster. Anderson might be the best guard shooter in this class. He hit 41.5% of his threes on 8 attempts per game, and these were not just standstill looks. He can shoot going left, going right, off the catch, and off movement, and he also averaged 7.5 assists per game with the Red Raiders, so this is not just a microwave scorer. He can run ball screens and make the right pass, and if Memphis eventually moves Ja Morant, they need guards who can stabilize the offense, and Anderson gives them shooting, decision-making, and a skill set that should translate next to other young pieces that they have there in Memphis. Next, with the 17th pick, the Oklahoma City Thunder select Morez Johnson Jr. from Michigan, and this is such an Oklahoma City pick to me because Johnson is the kind of player who helps championship teams win. He's not a flashy scorer, and he's not going to create a ton of offense on the perimeter, but he is a strong, physical, efficient, and extremely versatile defensive forward, and at Michigan, he became the connective tissue of a national championship team that dominated for most of the season. He averaged 13 points, shot 62.5% from the field, showed the ability to get to the line, rebounded extremely hard, and was one of the best defenders on one of the best defenses in all of college basketball. And the concern is that he is undersized for a center and not a proven shooter, but as a switchable physical frontcourt piece, he would fit the modern playoff game, and obviously that's exactly where Oklahoma City is going to be every single season. And with the 18th pick, the Charlotte Hornets select Bennett Stirtz from Iowa, and I know some people will see the age of Stirtz and write him off immediately, but he is going to have multiple fans in NBA front offices. He is a true point guard with elite feel, strong shooting touch, and the ability to run an offense without making many mistakes. He helped take Iowa to a surprise Elite 8 run this year, and even though the three-point percentage was streakier than expected at 36%, the role was extremely demanding as he was the offensive hub for the Hawkeyes. In the NBA, he will not have to carry that same amount of workload. He can play on the ball, space off the ball, make quick reads, and keep the offense organized when needed. And athleticism and his defense are definitely the concerns. Before a team like Charlotte, he could become a reliable long-term guard behind LaMelo Ball. With the 19th pick, the Toronto Raptors select Jayden Quaintance from Kentucky, and this might be one of the biggest medical swing picks we have in the draft. Quaintance barely played this season with the Wildcats while trying to return from a torn ACL that he suffered as a freshman at Arizona State, so everything depends on how teams feel about his medicals. But if he is healthy, the upside is obvious. When he was at Arizona State as a 17-year-old, he made the Big 12 All-Defensive team while averaging over a steal and 2.5 blocks per game, and that is ridiculous for someone that young. He has shown that he is mobile, instinctive, physical, and has the tools to become a real defensive anchor when healthy, and Toronto needs a center, some length, and defensive versatility, and Quaintance checks all of those boxes, and his range is wide, but the upside is worth the gamble here to me. Up next with the 20th pick, the San Antonio Spurs select Karim Lopez from the NBL, and this feels like a very Spurs-style swing on a young international forward with real developmental tools. Lopez played in the NBL Next Stars program and averaged around 12 points, 6 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, and a block per game. He is physical, skilled with the ball, and comfortable operating as a hybrid forward. He can attack in straight lines, play out of short rolls, pressure the rim, and compete on both ends of the floor, though the three-point shot is still up and down, sitting around 32% over his time in New Zealand, but the touch definitely looks promising. The bigger concern to me, though, is his defense in space, as his hips and lateral quickness definitely need work, but if those areas improve, he could become a really useful rotation forward for a San Antonio team that keeps looking better and better. With the 21st pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cameron Carr from Baylor, and for Detroit, this is about finding more shooting and secondary creation around Cade Cunningham. Carr led Baylor in scoring this past season as he shot nearly 40% from 3 on high volume and has the outline of a 3-and-D guard who can do a little more off the bounce. And that matters for a Pistons team that still needs long-term perimeter answers, and Carr's shooting profile definitely gives him a clear role at the next level. But his strength is definitely a concern as he's around 175 pounds with a limited sample of high-level games, and the physicality of the NBA is going to hit him quickly, but if he can add some weight and is able to hold up defensively, Carr's length and quick trigger could fit perfectly next to Cade. And with the 22nd pick, the Philadelphia 76ers select Allen Graves from Santa Clara, and this is one of the most interesting analytical bets in the entire draft. Graves came out of nowhere and became one of college basketball's most productive per-minute players this past season. At 6'9", he posted a ridiculous 5% steal rate and 5% block rate, which tells you how disruptive he was defensively. He is aggressive and maybe too aggressive at times because the foul trouble was real for him, but he also hit 40% of his threes, made connective passes, limited turnovers, and rebounded with strong hands. And for Philadelphia, this would be about getting younger, deeper, and more athletic in the front court next to Maxey and Edgecombe and that timeline. And if Graves can clean up his fouling, he could become a major steal in this draft. Next, with the 23rd pick, the Atlanta Hawks select Chris Senac Jr. from Houston, and this is another swing on tools because Senac has lottery-level flashes, but also real questions to his game. He is a flexible athlete, moves well, can play in space, and he averaged 8 rebounds in just 25 minutes per game for the Cougars, and the idea of him is very appealing because he's a long forward who has shown he can rebound, defend, cut, and stretch the floor at times, but the production profile is definitely weird for Senac. He took far too many jump shots compared to rim attempts, and he did not consistently play with the force you want from someone with his size. The defensive tape was also inconsistent, but Atlanta already addressed point guard earlier in this mock, so here they take a swing on a frontcourt upside piece that would fit perfectly next to Jalen Johnson. And with the 24th pick, the New York Knicks select Koa Pete from Arizona, and this is the kind of physical frontcourt prospect that makes sense for the Knicks. Pete is strong, quick for his size, and has enough feel to survive offensively while bringing elite defensive versatility, but the swing skill for Pete is going to be his jumper. Right now, he is not a consistent scorer outside of 15 feet, and that limits the lineup combinations you can play him in, but if the shot develops, he becomes a much more interesting player because he can guard on the perimeter, play through contact, and give Knicks more size. And with Mitchell Robinson headed toward free agency, New York could use another physical frontcourt option, and Pete right now might not look like the best pick, but he fits the toughness and size this roster values, and if that jumper improves, he could be awesome at the next level. Up next with the 25th pick, the Los Angeles Lakers select Henry Vassar from North Carolina, and this is one of the cleanest roster fits in the first round in my opinion, because the Lakers need talent at the center position, they need size, and they need someone who can function next to elite perimeter creators, and Vassar might be just that. He is 7 foot, moves well for his size, and shot 42.5% from 3 on 3 attempts per game with the Tar Heels. He also averaged over 2 assists per game, so he's not just a pick and pop big. He can pass, make reads, and play within the flow of an offense. Defensively, he should be able to hold up in drop coverage as well, but the question is whether or not he is physical enough for playoff basketball. But for a Lakers team built around Luka Doncic and maybe LeBron James going forward, a skilled floor spacing center seems to make a lot of sense here. With the 26th pick, the Denver Nuggets select Ibuka Okori from Stanford, and this is a bet on speed and potential. Okori was not even a top 100 recruit coming into college, but he immediately made scouts pay attention because of how fast he gets downhill. He has a wicked first step, serious acceleration, and the ability to create paint touches almost on demand. He is not the biggest guard, and he is not an elite vertical athlete, but his burst bends defenses. He also hit 35.5% from 3 on nearly 180 attempts on the season, which gives teams a real reason to believe the jumper is coming. And the Nuggets need more guard depth and more players who can create advantages when Nikola Jokic sits. So if Okori stays in the draft, this could be a great value pick for Denver. And with the 27th pick, the Boston Celtics select Amari Allen from Alabama. And this feels like the type of developmental wing Boston would be comfortable betting on here. Allen is a tall perimeter player with defensive instincts, rebounding production, and enough skill to project into a role if the offense catches up. He shot 34% from 3, which is not elite, but the touch looks better than the percentage. He can handle the ball a little, pass a little, defend multiple spots, and compete physically. And he is not someone you draft expecting instant self-creation, but in Boston, he would not need to do that. The Celtics value bigger wings who can fit around their stars, guard, rebound, and keep the ball moving, and Allen might need time, but the role player pathway is very real for him. With the 28th pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Tyler Tanner from Vanderbilt, and this is about planning for the future at the point guard position. Mike Conley is still important to this team, but he is 38 years old, and Minnesota needs more long-term ball handling. And Tanner is only 6 foot, and that size could push him down the board, but he can really play. He is fast, tough, smart, and plays with a level of physicality you do not usually see from smaller guards. And as a sophomore with Vanderbilt, he became one of the best guards in all of college basketball by attacking the rim, making plays, improving as a shooter, and competing defensively despite his small frame. And the question is whether the size gets exposed, but as a reserve guard who can change the pace, pressure the ball, and run the offense, I think Tanner would be a steal here. Next, with the 29th pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Isaiah Evans from Duke, and this is a very simple idea because Cleveland gets one of the best movement shooters in the draft with this pick. Evans hit 36% of his threes on 280 attempts on the season, and a lot of those were difficult looks. He was running off screens, relocating, firing on the move, and taking shots that stress a defense. And the free throw percentage around 86% is probably the better indicator of just how real the touch is. The concern, though, is that he is thin and not a natural creator and still has to prove he can hold up defensively, but for a Cleveland team that can always use more shooting around its core, Evans gives them a specialist with real starter level upside if the rest of his game keeps developing. And with the 30th and last pick in the first round, the Dallas Mavericks select Malik Thomas from Arkansas. And after taking Brayden Burries earlier in this mock, Dallas comes back and adds another shot maker around Cooper Flagg. Thomas is a walking bucket at 6'5", but the encouraging part is that he is not just a wild microwave scorer. He makes good decisions, does not turn it over at a scary rate, and shot 41.5% from 3 this past season, and that gives him an obvious NBA level type of skill. The Mavericks need shooting, creation, and young perimeter talent because this roster is being reshaped around Cooper Flagg, and Thomas could return to Arkansas and try to boost his stock for the next draft, but if he stays in this one, this is a strong landing spot for him, and he would not have to be a primary option right away, but he could come in, space the floor, and provide instant offense for the Mavericks. But that wraps it up for this one. Let me know your thoughts on my initial 2026 mock draft after the NBA draft lottery. Also, let me know who you think should go higher or lower in the draft, and if there was anyone I didn't include. And if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.